All right. Oh, no. So they say the best for last. It's good to be here. Whoa, these are some low seats. All right, so before we get started, we're going to talk about AI, and I want to make sure we actually do a little bit of AI. And so, Stephen, where's Stephen? Okay, so Stephen's on my team. Who in here has ever written a song? Anybody written a song? All right. How long did it take you? A couple days? I want you, Stephen, to take your phone out, get the Udio app, and I want you to make me a hip-hop song before the end of this panel. I want it to be about black people in suits at the BEA Solutions Summit. I'm giving you my prompts now.
Yeah.
Who take over technology.
There you go.
And I want you to make some clever riffs on business strategies. These are all business strategists. All right? Now, before
make it sound like Drake now.
And make it sound. Okay, good. Now, before this is over, I want you to use your AI stuff, and at the end, we will do your thing, and we'll play it. So, thank you very much. Now, start. Now, look, here we go. So, look, when we're thinking about black folks, we often think about history, black history. We have a whole Black History Month. At some point, we need to have a Black Future Weekend. What is the Black future? What are we doing? Where are we going? The people who made Black history were not trying to make Black history. They were trying to make the Black future better. Mm-hmm. And so we now have arrived at a time where AI, quantum computing, and biotech are going to change the future. And it's going to create new opportunities for wealth. It's going to create new opportunities for innovation, social impact. And we have a panel of people who are literally the best people in the world to talk about this massive transformation and the way it impacts our community. So let me start with Eyee. I want to start with X because you probably don't even know who this is. Everybody else up here is a little bit, a little bit better known. X has spent 12 years in AI, worked at Microsoft, worked at Google, built the team that taught AI how to see black people. Because AI actually literally could not see black people until X arrived. So I want. I have 2 songs. What?
I have 2 songs for you.
Already.
Oh, he has 2 songs?
Oh.
Hold on a second. I really despise this generation.
Oh. Yeah.
Let's hear your 2 songs that you wrote in 1 minute.
I didn't write it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Hold it up to your mic.
Stepping in the game, suited sharp, we playing chess, yeah. Dominating tech, we the kings, no need to guess, yeah. Black ties, sharp minds, moving with finesse, baby. Strategic moves ahead, this summit is a bless, baby.
I'm saying family synergize, merging public-private ties, baby. We've been wise, teaching slips to improvise, baby. Yeah. Took the stage, it's our domain, brought the pieces to the frame. Had to show them, got to play. Got to play, we set the
That's crazy.
And by the way, Van is one of his portfolio companies. I'm serious.
And by the way, John Hope, Bryant, you're going to have to let me do my thing here. Chris Lyons put the money into the company that made that. Literally, how many seconds did it take you to create that song?
40 seconds.
40 seconds. The lyrics were made by AI, the beat, the music, the production, all of that. So when we're talking about disruption, we're talking about something that we literally have never seen before. Mm-hmm. And one of the few people who understand all this stuff, who are black, are on this stage right here. Mm-hmm. And I want to start with you, X. You saw this coming. Mm-hmm. You frankly helped make some of it happen. Talk to us about where we are in the inflection point and what you're focused on, what you're concerned about and excited about when it comes to AI.
Yeah, so I think artificial intelligence is everything everywhere all at once, right? It's in all of our faces, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Siri or Alexa going off when you don't want them to. And right now we're at a point where AI is everywhere, but it's new enough where we can still shape where it's going, right? And AI stands to either catapult our progress in the future, catapult our continued growth and liberation, or it stands to automate away all of our progress. So on the one hand, AI can really shape our future in a more equitable way. For example, education has been something that has been a systemic barrier to Black and brown folks equitably participating in the society. Well, there are free tools by both Microsoft and Google where students who need to improve their reading skills or adults who might not be reading at a good level can download these tools completely free. They can read out loud to an AI, and it will coach them on their reading in real time in the privacy of their home, right? So Google's app is called Read Along, Microsoft's is called Reading Coach. Microsoft's tool even allows you to upload your own stories, so you're not getting some generic thing. You can use an AI to remix a story about LeBron getting swept in the playoffs and have your child read from that. And so now we're not relying on... Go Warriors.
LA, baby.
So now we're not relying on government entities to eventually someday fix our education structure or for our communities to happen to end up in the right neighborhoods with the right teachers who can help our students catch up. And this is critical because in 2022, it was reported that 84% of Black students in the 4th grade were reading below their grade level.
80%.
84% in 2022 in the US. And around the world, there are 300 million people who can't read or write. So tools like that stand to help level the playing field so that we can all equally participate. But on the flip side, AI is a real and present threat. And I'm not talking about the AGI that they're arguing about when it's going to come, the robots that are like Terminator. And I'm also not talking about job loss. I'm talking about real and present tools that have been deployed over the past decade that have done massive amounts of harm to our community. For example, artificial intelligence has been used in child protective services. What they've done is they've created an AI that's supposed to assess risk that a child is at harm, assess risk that a child will be harmed. So what they do is they take the kid's case file, they feed it to this AI, and it assigns a score between 0 and 100. 0 meaning the kid's not in danger at all, 100 meaning this child is most likely going to die. Well, in 2015 to 2017, the state of Illinois ran a study with that AI and tested it out. It flagged over 360 kids as 100% in danger, and none of them were. It missed children that were actually in danger. All the children that it flagged at 90% or above, so the 4,100 children that it flagged, were Black and brown. So Illinois said, oh no, we're not using this system. They got rid of it, yet more than a dozen states in the US still use that system today. You look at AI in healthcare. In 2019, United Healthcare Group got in trouble because they had created an algorithm that was supposed to decide whether or not you needed to see a specialist. That algorithm used on over 70 million Americans was recommending that sicker Black patients don't see the specialist over healthy white patients. They got sued for that. Well, fast forward to 2023 and United Healthcare Group is getting sued again because another algorithm that they deployed to automatically approve or deny claims has a 90% error rate.
Damn.
And it's used in over 50% of claims, all medical claims processed in the US. You look at Moderna. Have you guys seen the news about Moderna? We've got 750 custom-trained ChatGPTs we're using. Well, in the last 3 years, tons of research has come out that shows that large language models, like ChatGPT, are extremely biased based on race, based on gender, based on whether or not it thinks you speak English as a first or a second language. And despite this, Moderna is in the news bragging, saying we're going to turn this thing on in clinical trials to determine what doses people should get. These algorithms that are being used right now under our noses are shaping the very future that we're going to have. Those same large language models, the state of Texas on April 10th just announced that they're going to be using large language models to grade the students' end-of-year tests. So they take the end-of-year, STAR tests or whatever, they have to write an essay. They're going to be using that to grade it. How are you using something that's biased against our communities, biased against students who don't speak English as a first language, to grade their progress and determine whether or not they are proficient at their grade level? These things are here right now, so that inflection point is we have to decide, Are we going to intentionally shape AI to be used in continued service of our growth and our progress? Or are we going to sit by idly, hoping that people like Elon Musk figure it out, people like myself figure it out, and wait while it automates away all of the progress that our ancestors have fought for? And so that's the choice we have to make right now, and it's not one that I can make alone, so I'll stop there.
That's great. I told you. I told you. So there's the bad part, and then there's the good part. There's a way this technology can be used for harm, and there's a way this technology can be used to build. Brother Phillips here is somebody who is probably quite bored with this whole conversation, because you were AI before AI was cool. You've always been tech forward. You have 9 companies in your portfolio right now that are all AI company or AI influence companies. Talk a little bit about how you see the world from being one of the business titans on the planet right now who's using this to build companies. What are you seeing?
Well, one little context, this has been going on a long time, as you mentioned, and what changed in 2017 was Google came up with something called transformer technology and applied AI to languages. And so the reason they didn't commercialize it is because an engineer went rogue and claimed that it was sentient, that it could understand was a real person. So a bunch of senators called, got after Google, Google tried to shut it down, and those engineers left and went to OpenAI and Microsoft. So this has been going on for a while. It's still early days, though. This is going to take a while to play out, just like the internet did. The issues we have, just like X said, we have many more issues on hallucinations. We have IP infringement. They crawled the entire internet, didn't tell anybody they were doing it. So there's lots of reasons where people are cautious on this. So I would say, if you look at OpenAI platform, the last update in 2023, that was a 3-year update. So it updated every 3 years, so it's not current. So there's lots of reasons why this is going to take a while to play out and mature. So I would say we have time to figure it out, to try to solve some of these issues, and people should be cautious on where they use it. So I'm on the boards of lots of large companies. They're being cautious. They want to make sure they don't miss it, but you don't want to put this in front of your customers if you don't have to yet till some of these problems are solved. A lot of money is going into this area. There will be a bubble that bursts at some point. Last year, $21 billion went to AI startups. That's 5 times than the year before. If you look at all the machine learning and the supercomputers they're buying from NVIDIA and others, they spent $50 billion last year and got $3 billion in revenue. That's not sustainable. So we're in a hype cycle right now. It will burst at some point and it'll have to level out. So we have some time to figure it out. What I'm more concerned about is when they do figure it out, and maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 3 years, what types of jobs does it impact? And so McKinsey did a great study. They looked at 800 different occupations, broke them down by task, figured out which ones were most exposed. About 43% of the tasks in aggregate could be automated away, but it's very different by job, what type of job you have. Unfortunately, if you look at the top 10 jobs that are most automatable, that's where Black people are overexposed. And so we have to educate ourselves on what those jobs are, things like that.
So wait, so you're saying that right now, our folks who have jobs
are disproportionately in those things that can be automated.
Like what? What kind of jobs can be automated? 'Cause I do want to talk about how people can make the money, but our cousins probably are going to get fired. So talk about that.
Customer service jobs, contact centers, personal assistants, office workers. They listed all the jobs that we're in, and there's a percentage of the tasks that can be automated. So I thought it was a great report. And so we're disproportionate in those jobs. Those are the jobs that we could get.
Right.
And so we're going to have to figure something out and educate people. Just like if you major in the wrong thing in college, you're going to make less money later. We did that as well. But if you do that on this, and you're spending too much percentage of your time in a task that essentially will be automated away, you can see that come as like a slow-moving freight train. So we need to educate our people on, you don't want to start here, you want to start there.
This is, I noticed y'all didn't clap when.
I had the down, no, I'm sorry.
We'll come back to you because you're also making a bunch of money on this, and I want people to understand how to do it. But let me go to you, Chris. You know, you're at Andreessen Horowitz, one of the, I guess now probably the most impactful venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, probably with no peer at this point. You run the Cultural Leadership Fund, where you basically worked hard to get a bunch of Black folk in on the ground floor as investors in Silicon Valley, which had never been done before. Give them a round of applause for that, by the way. And so you are an investor for a living. You are making bets right now in real time. You put the money into Udio that just wrote 2 songs in 40 seconds, and we could have made it sound like Jay-Z if we wanted to. Though that would be illegal. What are you seeing on we've heard a lot of the negative. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing on the positive? How can Black people thrive in this environment? What should we not be doing? What kind of businesses should we not be launching? What kind of businesses should we be launching? And maybe you could start off by talking about your good friend, what's his name?
Cody.
Who?
Cody.
Yeah, Cody from
Coleman.
Stanford.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think that with everything, there's optimism because it's very easy to say what's going to go wrong, but it's always hard to predict the future, right? In terms of thinking about what the opportunities are. And so just to real quickly, Cody Coleman, he's a founder of a company called Coactive. We led the seed round. He just raised a very large Series A. I mean, he's a Black founder, but he's also just been super passionate about the future of AI, similar to how X has been really seeing the world. And I think that the opportunity now where people can finally look at this space and say, hey, there is an opportunity to leverage AI. I mean, if you think about companies that are being built today, if you're going to say, me and John have talked about this a bunch. We've had to build the rails of saying, okay, hey, let's get people into technology, right? And then so now people are learning how to code and learning how to get into businesses. And the next stage is, as soon as you do that, then crypto comes along, and now you have to learn crypto. Now AI is now coming into the mix in terms of companies that are going to build businesses. And so if you're a founder and you're building a company that doesn't have any, LLMs or any type of AI solutions, and you have a company that's doing the exact same thing but has an AI model just by default based off of how technology is moving, it's going to be a 10x business. And for our culture, we need to make sure that if you're going to get into businesses and you're going to be getting into the technology space, that to be aware of how AI can actually help.
But this is, I think, really critical what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Because we have been pushing for Black folks to get involved in business, to become entrepreneurs.
To be coding, engineers.
To get in technology, whatever. But you're saying, hold on a second. If you got to build the right technology business, mm-hmm. If you're building the technology business that you would have thought was cool 3 years ago, mm-hmm. Not only are you going to get beat by competitors that are going to have an AI charged model, mm-hmm. You're not going to be competitive for funding in the first place.
Exactly.
So just talk a little bit more about that, because I think it's important. At the end, we'll round this thing off. But you're saying, as our basically inside guy, mm-hmm. who's allocating capital, mm-hmm. that you're seeing us make mistakes starting businesses.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not it's great ideas, but the playing field has already gone to
the AI side.
Yeah, in terms of, having the AI model, it's almost like, when crypto was going, crypto's back to normal. It goes ups and downs, but when people always wanted to have crypto in terms of their strategy, but there was no real reason for having, a blockchain technology. And so when we were making those type of investments, really probing into the why behind it. And so, but now, AI is out the bag. Everyone always talks about, oh, hey, well, there's no way, we need to, shut it down. We need to bring it back in. These things are happening, and now we're finally hitting mainstream and consumer adoption, which is actually an exciting thing. One of our theses and how we see the world, we think that there's going to be somebody that's going to be able to build $1 billion business just with one person.
A one-person $1 billion business.
That is, we think it's going to happen, and I think it could be us, and I want it to be us, and I want us to be able to know the tools, to be able to know there's an app, it's called Gamma, right? And so we have a whole bunch of different ideas every day, and people pitch ideas and write things on a napkin. You can literally go into this app, onto the website, and then type in, I want to make a cookie company in Atlanta that focuses on vegan treats and whatever. And then next thing you know, it'll create an entire PowerPoint presentation for you.
In how long?
10 different slides. And then you can go edit and update.
How much time?
It takes 35 seconds. Literally 35 seconds. And so we're still on PowerPoint presentation. We're still using PowerPoint and Keynote, working on trying to figure out what color our font's going to be. And we've already created the entire foundation for the business. And I think that, it's kind of like, So AI can be that writer's block for any type of person, and we need to be able to share those the information and the knowledge to our community and to our culture, so that now we can get a jump start in terms of how we're thinking about, using AI to help for speech in education systems, and having a model that has empathy, that will sit down and work with you through each type of question and solution. Same thing with bio and health, and using AI to really help create and solve different cancer issues and things like that. So, but we have to be aware of what's going on. The Kendrick Lamar disc came out 24 hours ago, and people can already sing the entire song, but cannot actually know what type of platforms are being built right now that can really help advance their career.
But before I bring John in, what was the name of the app that you said that can tell me how to make my business? What was it? What was it?
Oh, that one's called Gamma.
Gamma?
Yeah, GAMM. It's just literally gamma.app. And that's just one of them,
How can people find out about these apps? It seems like another one comes out every day.
Yep.
It makes me feel very insecure.
Yep. It won't take your job yet, so don't worry.
No, actually, our job's gonna be TV will be gone. There'll be avatars.
Oh yeah. Well, that means you could be chilling on the beach.
But I'll be panhandling in crypto. Think about some more of apps that we can share with folks, but all of this comes down to something that really I think John needs to speak to. Mm-hmm. There are two different futures out there. There's a future where we're using these tools to get healthier, to get smarter, to put jetpacks on our entrepreneurs, we could really, as a community, just rise, or we could get wiped out. And it really does come down to some of the stuff that X was talking about, the need for us to step up and help shape this stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I wish that there was somebody on this panel who had a relationship with Sam Altman, who's kind of the Steve Jobs of this whole field now. He's like the best known, et cetera, et cetera. OpenAI, everybody's talking about it. Your kids are using to cheat right now. If some black leader, some champion of the people had a relationship with Sam Altman, and if that person could have convinced Sam Altman to create a whole ethics panel and to put that person in charge. Isn't that you? First of all, how did the hell that happen? Why the hell did Sam Altman create an ethics panel to deal with X's problem and put you in charge of it? Just tell the relational story on that before we even talk about what you see.
Well, I'm not actually in charge of it. We're co-chairs.
Okay, co-chairs.
First of all, hello, everybody. I'm from the black church. I'm used to seek and respond. I think Van Jones is brilliant. Don't you agree?
Yeah, very kind, very kind.
We don't have time for this conversation. I'm glad you're having it. But you could do this one thing all day for 3 days and still run out of room. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to do this in a couple minutes. But to answer your question, actually, where I'm going tonight, which is the Milken Conference, is where all this started. I was at the Milken Conference with Sam and I had been talking about the future, and I told him I went to his office before he announced any of this, and he said, "Let me show you something." Mm. And he flipped open his Mac, and I was like, "What is that?" And I said, "Look, you can't do that unless you go from the suites to the streets. Mm. You've got to include us in that conversation. Technology, Silicon Valley has never included an underserved population, people of color, who would be in fact impacted most. When you go on your tour, you got to come to us first." And his team said, "Oh, he's busy and his schedule changed." I said, "To hell with that. He needs to come to our community." And I sent him a note. Mm. And he said, "Let me work on it." A few weeks later, I'm in Beverly Hills at the Milken Conference. It's 2 a.m. Mm. And he pings me. "Hey, the White House just called me. My tour just got pushed up. I got to go to the White House. I think it was in 4 days. Mm. Can I come to Atlanta when I leave the White House?" What day? I think I had 3 days from that day. Called Dr. French at Clark Atlanta University, called Ambassador Andrew Young, who is today's Nelson Mandela, in my opinion.
Yes.
who built Atlanta into the international city in the South. Anyway, so and we had this meeting, and Dr. King's family was there, and all the luminaries showed up. All of us showed up. Them showed up, sorry. And it was the most terrifying meeting in my life.
Why?
And,
Why?
I mean, I've never been more inspired and more frightened all at one time in a 2-hour period. We're going to go from horse and buggy. So we went from a horse and buggy to the automobile in about 55 years, 1850 to 1905. And by the way, there were 100 automobile companies in 1900 to 1907 that were stood up. We think about a couple of them. There was 100 of them. Most of them didn't survive. So to Charles and X's point, there's a lot of there's a lot of capital is going to get wasted, and there's a lot of things that shouldn't happen. But make no mistake about it, capitalism is a gladiator sport. Ain't nobody sitting around waiting for perfection or waiting for something to get written. No, folks are all in this right now while we're sitting here.
Yep.
And they'll think, like, hey, we'll see what shakes out, but we're not going to be sitting on the side waiting. Capitalism is a gladiator sport, and it ain't personal. It's not emotional. And it's PhD more than PhD. And so this is what took 60 years, from 1850 to 1910, it's going to take 5 years. Before 2030, everything will change as you know it. I did some quick research while I was sitting here, Van, and we don't have time to go through this, but I could tell you the industries that were around in 1850, and it was everything. If you had a horse, you were balling. It was your transportation. It was your manufacturing. It was class. It was your sense of wealth. It was industry. It was public transportation. It was everything. And by 1910, it was glue.
Glue.
I'm not kidding. The most valuable thing you could do in 1910 with a horse was turn it into glue. It just decimated. Right. You're going to have between 16 to 30% of all jobs in the next 5 to 8 years. Poof, disruption.
16 to 30% of all jobs.
And when white folks have a headache, black folks have pneumonia. So you can, just ramp up the numbers. I mean, I can go through the industries that are highly impacted: manufacturing, transportation, retail, including fast food restaurants where Pookie and them are working. Don't act like you don't know who Pookie and them is. Customers. By the way, it's happening right now. Go to the airport. Remember 5 years ago, you go to the airport and there was 8 people working there, and one person had an attitude. And what you want? That person's gone. Now you go back there and there's 3 people working, one person doing oversight. There's a tablet you push to put your order in. That's automation happening right in front of you. Go to the grocery store. I was at the grocery store 2 nights ago. There was 8, what do you call them? Checkout counters. Yep. One had a person at it. There was the self-checkout. There was one person overseeing 10 checkout counters, self-checkout counters. It's happening right in front of you. We just don't recognize it. So this whole thing is transforming right in front of us. So it was terrifying to me because I don't think anybody's ready.
Right.
It's not slowing down. It's actually speeding up. And if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. Now here's a bit of good news in the middle of this. And coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. I didn't know, I'm not this smart. I didn't know I was doing this. But in the pandemic, George Floyd gets murdered, I get Toby Lutke, who's the 5th richest man in Canada, owns Shopify, founded it, to make a $130 million 10-year commitment to help me create 1 million black businesses in America, one MBB. And he said, sure. And there's a story behind that, because actually his commitment ended up in my spam folder. And I thought he said no. And he was like, I said yes to 130 million. I missed the whole thing. Check your spam folder. And anyway, today we have created 400,000 black businesses in 4 years.
Wow.
And that's on e-commerce. That's on the e-commerce platform. So if you have a restaurant, now you can have an e-restaurant. You have a barbershop or a nail salon or a hair salon. It doesn't have to be high tech. Now you can have an e-version of that. So I can schedule, when I'm flying in at night, I can schedule that barbershop visit on your platform, on Shopify in this example. You can get my credit card in case I don't show up, so now you get a fee. Now I can order some more stuff. So you build wealth in your sleep. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. So so that's 400,000 businesses. The number one group that started that started businesses after the pandemic were black people. And the number one group amongst all group were black women. So we're not lacking hustle. We're not lacking initiative.
Let me.
Go ahead. I'm done. I told you you can't do this. Like,
Listen, I'm just trying to get people.
And by the way, Sam was equally terrified.
Yes.
He was hopeful and terrified, which is why I trust him.
Look, I think that black people need AI because we can put jetpacks on a lot of our functions and get ahead of folks who are also scared and don't know what they're doing. I also think AI needs black people.
That part. Because
our ethics, our values, our sense of what's right and wrong needs to be foundational. I want to give you the last word, and then I'm going to give you some homework and an invitation. But, you know, you are unbelievably cool and calm. This is a highly emotional topic. Everybody is trying to jump out windows, people putting their head in the sand, people are scared. You're just smooth.
Because there's upside.
Talk about the upside.
So let me give you an example. There's a company in an area called dental AI. And what that means is they take basically AI technology, analyze dental x-rays. With that, they automatically populate the claim, send that directly to the insurance company and in real time get it approved. That whole process used to take a very long time. You had special codes you had to put in, lots of errors. Insurance companies didn't want to pay it because you made errors and you misdiagnosed. So the person who's a claims manager now, we used to send all that to India. The person who's the claims manager now can have a lower barrier to entry and take that job in the US. We can do more jobs that we've been shut out of by leveraging AI. So there'll be new jobs, categories created.
Okay.
We just have to know where those are, get away from these jobs over here, they're going to be eliminated. Let's shift and focus on these new things, so AI-assisted jobs. So I can give you 1,000 examples like that.
Give one or two more, just because I don't want these people to be so depressed.
Well, I can't stop that.
But two more examples, and I'll give you your homework and invitation, and we'll hand it back over to the boss.
Yeah, so there's a company called Klena that is a fintech company. And so what they did was apply AI to customer service. They had a bunch of agents who, they do a buy now, pay later. So people call in, cancel things, refunds, whatever. There's always some problem. They announced in February that AI is now performing the equivalent of additional 700 support agents online, doing it faster, doing it cheaper, 24/7, 35 different languages. They didn't fire people. They said, but that's a service that we couldn't have done. Now we can have 24/7 support. So that person who's been calling in, waiting on hold for 20 minutes, frustrated, they're much more productive now, get time back. Everybody benefits from that. Another example, there's another company that's looking at working for UPS. They do $3 billion, 3 billion deliveries a year. They're merging shipments at certain points, and so the truck doesn't show up in a neighborhood half empty, making sure there's merge points, but you got to see all the shipments and do all the analysis and what packages fit in what truck. That driver can be more efficient. That's the job we have. We're having a lot of those jobs. You can make one trip, a much better lifestyle. So there's benefits to all of us to getting more efficient in some of these areas, but we just got to identify those areas where it's all about the data, by the way. The reason that Copilot at Microsoft is so good is because all the developers put their code in one place that Microsoft owns and said, learned off of that. We should be looking for the data pools. Who owns a certain amount of data that nobody else has? You train on that data, and then you have an advantage. So we should just educate ourselves on what jobs it can assist us on, where are the private data pools that we can take advantage of, and let's go in that direction.
Look, every time I have these conversations, I have lower self-esteem. So, but I think this is the most important conversation that we can be having. I want to give you some homework. There are 2 books that I think can get you very quickly up to speed so you can start being innovative and smart. One is called Competing in the Age of AI. Competing in the Age of AI, Strategy and Leadership When Algorithms and Networks Run the World. That is a very practical book. And there's another book called The Coming Wave by Mustafa that gives you a big overview. Literally, by this time next week, you could have read both books, and you will be ahead of 99% of people in this conversation. And then there are these various and sundry apps. So that's the homework assignment.
But if you don't want to read the book, you could just go on ChatGPT and get a summary.
Lower and lower and lower the self-esteem, man. It's just going down. I want to also give you an invitation. Stephen and Eyee, by the way, just give them a round of applause. You don't know them yet, but you will. Just raise your hands, raise your hands, raise your hands, raise your hands. Thank you. We're part of a team called dreammachine.org, and we're running a campaign with will.i.am called Make Wakanda Real. Make Wakanda Real, to get young people excited about this technology, not afraid of it, and using it to make our communities better. June 15th, we're going to be in Atlanta. If you want to know more about that, Eyee and Steve are right here. You can also go to dreammachine.org. And the last thing I'll say is this. Look, 99% of black folk don't know anything about AI, don't know anything about quantum computing, and don't know anything about biotech. And 99% of white folk don't either. 99% of white folk don't either. This is the first and only equality you are ever going to see. We are equally ignorant about this new stuff.
Jump ball.
It's jump ball. It's jump ball. It's jump ball. And so it literally is in our hands, whether or not we miss another train, and this might be the last train moving, or whether we jump on the train and drive it. You literally have one of the original, and the reason he's so cool and calm is he's already set the game up. And he's in our community. X has already figured out where all the problems are. This dude's got a bunch of money, and this dude's got Sam Altman in a therapy hub. Now look, black folk, I don't know what more y'all want from God than the people on this panel, so give them a round of applause. Thank you very much.